friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. We are outside at our tomato trellises here, and today I want to talk to you about getting free tomato plants off of your tomato plants that you already have existing in your garden. We have to prune our tomato plants anyway, so why not do it in such a way that creates new tomato plants for us? This is a process known as propagation. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, for years, when I thought about the term propagation, I thought fruit trees. It never dawned on me that we could do that with our tomato plants. And of course we can. They're fantastic rooters. They have all those fuzzy hairs on them, which will turn into roots if given the proper conditions. I saw someone several years ago create or clone, propagate their tomato plants, and it's just like a light bulb went off. Like, of course we can do that. Why haven't I thought about this before? So I wanted to bring you along today, and we're going to do this for one of our tomato plants. I'm going to show you what to look for. We want to, when we're creating new tomato plants from existing tomato plants, we want to specifically cut the tomato suckers. So I'm going to show you what to look for, how to identify a tomato sucker, and how to get that thing producing a new tomato plant for you. Let's get started. If you would like help planting a productive garden, scroll down to the description box of this video and click this link for a free garden printable. We calculated quantities for a year's supply of the most common garden vegetables and organized them into a neat chart to help you plan. We'll send it straight to your inbox. If you're new here, we invite you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming tutorials on gardening and food preservation, food storage, and more. Okay, so here we have a beautiful example of a tomato sucker. So this is the plant that we're looking at right here. This is the main stalk. The main stalk of the tomato plant comes down here and goes straight up here. And then we have a side shoot right here. Starts here and it comes all the way out here. That's our side shoot. Now right here, in what some people lovingly refer to as the armpit of the tomato, where do you see this stem coming out diagonally from the main shoot and the side shoot? This diagonal stem right here is called the tomato sucker. Tomato suckers are essentially another main stem. It is going to basically produce almost as if it were its own tomato plant. It's going to still produce tomatoes on that. Now, some people don't prune their suckers. It is a debated topic in the world of gardening, and there is no right or wrong, I don't think. It's just what you want to do according to your goals, according to your weather. If you live in really humid environments where fungal disease can breed quickly, you want to prune your plants more heavily. But if you, let's say you live in a dry area and you don't deal with a lot of fungal disease, you don't necessarily have to prune, and therefore you might want to keep your suckers. The kind of the pros and cons to suckering your tomato plants is if you pull your tomato suckers off, the existing fruits on the rest of the plant will be bigger. If you choose to keep your suckers on, you will get more fruit, but it will be smaller fruit. So just whatever you prefer, make that decision about whether or not you want to pull your suckers off. But for this particular video, I want to show you how to create a whole new tomato plant from your existing tomato plants. And this is a way that you can really garden frugally and get a bigger tomato harvest without having to invest any more money into it. Okay, so I just have a pair of scissors here, and I'm just going to snip off the sucker right there at, let me come through here, right there where it meets the main stem. I'm going to carefully pull it out here. Okay, let me get you set up and let's talk about the next step. Okay, the next step after you get your sucker off is to evaluate the plant to see if there's anything else you need to do before placing it in water and letting it do its thing. So the two things that we need to think about is the fact that this stem cannot support a ton of growth. It doesn't need to, we don't want it having to use so much energy to put flowers and to feed a whole bunch of leaves. Now this one only has this shoot here, and these up here. That's decent. I don't feel the need to clip any of these, but if I wanted to, I could absolutely clip this bottom one and it wouldn't be an issue, at all. What I do really need to do is, you can see it has some buds on it already, these flowers. I want to go ahead and pick those off. I don't want the plant stressing about trying to feed those blooms when it really needs to focus on putting out roots. I think I'm going to go ahead and clip this one off because it has plenty of leaves up here. So the other thing when we're trying to decide whether or not to trim is, does it have enough leaves to continue the process of photosynthesis? And if all of these leaves up here, these leaves, that is plenty to still photosynthesize and still be able to grow. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off, just because I want this to produce roots as quick as possible for the sake of this video, so that I can show y'all the whole process in one video. So the next step is just to put it in a glass of water. That's it. Now, we don't want this to sit in direct sunlight because it will wilt. It has already, you can see within, you know, a minute, 2 minutes of clipping it off, it's already wilting in this hot sun. So I'm going to be bringing this inside, and I'm going to set it on the floor near a sunny windowsill. So I have a very sunny windowsill in my house, and usually I will set my plants on that sunny windowsill, but not when I'm propagating tomatoes. I don't want them getting direct sunlight, but I do want them to have indirect sunlight. They still have to have light to photosynthesize and stay alive, but they don't need direct sunlight. So I will set this on the floor next to my sunny windowsill, and it will still get some sunlight, but not so much that it's going to kill the plant or damage it, anything like that. Now, the next step is just to wait about 7 to 10 days, up to 2 weeks. What we're going to do, or what the plant is going to do, is everywhere where those fuzzy hairs are underneath the water, it's going to start forming into a root. By the end of this, we will have probably 30 or 40 little white roots shooting out from under here. Now, I went ahead and pulled a sucker from a different plant about 6 days ago, and I don't know if the camera is going to be able to pick it up because they are very light. But it's been, oh man, I don't remember how long it's been. I think 5 or 6 days. I can't remember, but I don't know if the camera is going to be picking that up, but you're basically looking for teeny tiny white little shoots popping out from underneath the stem everywhere it's submerged underwater. It is already starting to do that just after a few days, but I'm going to let it sit until each of those little roots are about 1 inch long. That's the time frame. Ever how long that takes. In general, it's going to take 7 days to a week. 7 to 10 days is kind of generally the most common that I've seen, but you can go up to 2 weeks, no problem. You really can go even longer than that, but you want to just study the plant as far as how long can you go. You don't want to go so long because it does need to be getting food from the soil pretty quickly. But before we take this out of the water, we want all of those little hairy roots to become at least 1 inch long, and then it's ready to transplant back into the ground. So we'll bring you back when this plant, or that one, whichever one comes first, produces the amount of roots that we need, and I will show you what the root length is that we are going for. That lets us know we're ready to transplant it back into our garden. Okay, it has been about 2.5 weeks since the last clip, and I wanted to show you progress on our propagation of tomatoes. So we have 2 jars here. You see those roots? This is about, well, let me just take them out. It'll be a lot easier to see. That's about the length that we want when we are trying to propagate tomatoes. This is ready to go into the ground. We want at least 1 inch roots, and these are a little bit longer than 1 inch. And those are this is actually the most recent cutting that we did. So this one is only about 1.5 weeks old. So let me show you the 2.5 week old one. This one right here. Here's the jar with the water. And as you can see, these roots are a good bit longer, past time to go into the ground, but still doing fine, still vibrant green, no issues whatsoever as far as the plant health. But look at all those beautiful roots. Both of these plants are ready to go into the ground, so let's get transplanting. We are going to plant these in my raised bed right here. I've always wanted to try this, but I've never been brave enough to do my whole tomato crop like this way. But it's just the raised bed, but I have a trellis that goes over this raised bed, and I've always wanted to just do a single string and prune the tomatoes to be a single string tomato plant where it has one main stem. I've never done it before, but since I have these 2 beautiful transplants, I'm going to go ahead and try that this year, and I will do my best to report back to you about how it went. But I'm going to be using the trench method to plant these tomatoes. Tomatoes like to be planted really deep, and if you don't want to dig a super deep hole, or you can't dig a super deep hole because of either physical limitations or growing room limitations, then you can do the trench method. So I'm just digging a trench here. Don't worry about seeing all of this in super great detail because we have an entire video dedicated to the trench plant method of transplanting tomatoes, and I give you a very good up close and personal view of that process in that video, and I will be sure to have that linked in the description box below. But we're just going to give this some good support on this side so it stays up nice and straight. And once this plant grows bigger, I will come through and cut off this stem right here because it's, as you can see, it's touching the soil, which isn't going to be good. That's going to breed disease eventually. But once this tomato plant has time to get about here and it's got plenty of green foliage up here, I'll just come up and start clipping, pruning those lower branches right off. Let's come over here and do the same thing. So we have a guide. It's called the Tomatoes, a Sprout to Supper Guide, and in that guide we cover everything you need to know about growing tomatoes successfully. Look at that. You grub, my chickens are gonna love that. But anything you need to know to grow tomatoes successfully is in that guide. We talk about seed selection, variety selection, how to start seeds inside, how to start seeds outside, how to transplant, how to feed, how to fertilize. But then we take you inside and then show you how to preserve it via canning, via dehydrating, turning it into tomato powder. And then we also even include a few recipes at the end for using your preserved tomatoes. So if you're interested in that, I'll have it linked up in the description, or linked in the description box below. And I will also have it on the screen somewhere right around there. That's all for today, and we will see you next time. Bye.